You ever notice how people flinch when they catch their own reflection? Huh? Not the mirror, not the glass, their own damn face. That's the face they painted. That's the version of themselves they polished, edited, cropped, filtered, and fed to the world, hoping it would be enough to distract from what they actually are. See, people will set the house on fire and then blame the smoke. They'll break their own damn spine chasing illusions, and when it all comes crashing down, they point at you, at me, at anything except the one person that lit the match. And here's where it gets funny. They believe it. They look you in the eye with the same mouth that lied to themselves for years and say, "You're the problem." Oh, don't act surprised. That's the circus we're in. The audience boos the truth and throws roses at the illusion. And you're caught right in the middle, aren't you? Yeah, you gave your best. You bled just to keep the peace. You stood still while they slapped your loyalty across the floor like it was garbage. And now they need a villain. And guess what? Tag, you're it. They'll build a stage just to burn you on it. Make no mistake, they don't care about justice. They care about the story, the script, the excuse. You're just convenient. And that's what hurts the most, doesn't it? Not the betrayal, not the silence, not even the fake smiles. It's knowing deep down that they knew what they were doing. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. Cold, calculated, intentional. And here you are, still trying to explain yourself to people who decided who you were before you even opened your mouth. Let me tell you something they won't. You owe them nothing. Not your peace, not your pain, not your side of the story. You don't owe anyone a damn performance in a play you never auditioned for. They broke it. Let them hold the pieces. You see, the mirror, it doesn't lie. It doesn't sugarcoat. It shows you the monster in the man. But they don't want that. Truth is too loud, too raw. It exposes the rot. And when people see themselves, really see themselves, they panic. They can't face the fact that their decisions, their actions, their betrayals are what built their damn prison. So they point. You made me like this. You left me no choice. You were too much. Lies. All of it. What they mean to say is I was never strong enough to stand next to someone real. You reminded them of everything they weren't willing to fix. So instead of rising with you, they dragged you down. That's how cowards move. Quiet, calculated, with a smile and a plan. But here's the deal, and I need you to listen, because this ain't no bedtime story. I want you to stop trying to clear your name in the court of people who already sentenced you. They ain't looking for truth. They're looking for comfort. And your truth? It's too damn uncomfortable. So let them find their scapegoat. Let them spit your name like poison while they drown in the lies they told themselves. Don't fight them. Don't shout. Don't post. Don't prove. Just build. Build so high, the same ones who buried you gotta break their neck just to see how far you climbed. That's the revenge. Not the noise, the results. Let silence teach them what your words never could. Let your absence echo louder than your presence ever did. Let your success disturb their sleep. And while they chase shadows, you'll be too far ahead to even hear their apologies, if they ever grow the guts to say one. You see, the mirror is patient. It waits. It doesn't chase. It reflects. And when the show is over, when the masks fall off and the crowd goes home, that's all that's left. The truth. No applause. No spotlight. Just that reflection, staring back at them, whispering what you always knew. You weren't the problem. You were the proof they never healed. That's what they'll run from. That's why they'll rewrite the story. But guess what? Let them. Because while they're stuck explaining their version to people who don't even care, you'll be too busy becoming the version they swore you'd never reach. Funny thing about blame, people toss it like dice, hoping it lands on anything but themselves. They mess up, screw over the real ones, sabotage the ones who showed up when no one else did, and when the consequences show up with a chair and sit in their damn lap, they go searching. Searching for someone to hang it on. Someone visible. Someone who loved them too loudly. Someone who tried too hard. That's where you come in, isn't it? The easy target. The one who stayed when it wasn't convenient. The one who loved when it wasn't deserved. The one who forgave before they even apologized. You were the mirror that made them flinch. Every time you stood firm, you reminded them of everything weak in themselves. Every time you chose growth, they felt smaller next to you. You didn't hurt them. They were just scared of being seen. Scared of being known. So they ran. Or worse. They stayed just long enough to twist the narrative, to make you question the very truth they couldn't handle. And that's the dark part. They gaslight you into thinking you're the problem, then walk away like saints. And now they roam around telling their sob story, rewriting history with themselves as the misunderstood victim. And you sit in silence, angry at yourself for being real, for caring, for giving. That's how they trap you, not with chains, but with doubt. But listen closely now, 'cause this is where people either break or become dangerous. Right here, when the pain sharpens, when the tears dry, but the memory burns. This is where your story splits. You can let their lies define you, or you can let their betrayal refine you. You can either stay explaining your heart to the blind, or build a life that speaks louder than their fiction. See, they expect you to fold, to chase, to beg. That's part of the game. They want to feel powerful. They want to see if you'll crawl back, still hoping for closure they never intended to give. But here's the plot twist. They don't get that satisfaction. Not this time. You walk away cold, clean, unapologetic. You stop correcting their version and start creating your next one. You stop mourning what died and start building what's next. That's what they never expect. That silence, that glow up, that indifference. They wanted you broken, bitter, explaining yourself to ghosts. Instead, you show up one day calm, collected, unbothered, and that's what shatters them. 'Cause nothing haunts a guilty conscience like the one they tried to destroy, walking around untouched. You think they care about truth? Number. They care about control, about image, about the performance. That's why they wear masks so well. That's why they post quotes about peace after starting wars. That's why they laugh with people who'd gut them the moment they show weakness. It's not real. None of it. And deep down, they know it. That's why they can't look in the mirror for too long. That's why they keep their phone loud, their circle loud, their mind louder. Because if everything goes quiet, the truth starts whispering. And truth? Oh, it don't need a microphone. It just needs a moment. One moment where they're alone and nothing's left but the reflection they built. That's where you win. Not in the arguments, not in the DMS, not in the desperate explanations, in the silence. The silence you mastered, the calm they thought was weakness, the distance they mocked but now regret. That's how you burn them, quietly, with growth, with peace, with success so loud they can't pretend not to hear it. So yeah, let them point fingers. Let them spin their stories. You keep your head down and your fire up, because someday they'll circle back, not to fix it. Oh no, they'll circle back to see if you're still broken, still waiting, still reachable. That's what the guilty do. They check the door they slammed just to see if it still opens. And when it doesn't, that's when the real panic starts. Because now they're stuck with their truth. And you've moved on. Not just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You built from the wreckage they left behind. And that, my friend, is the kind of revenge no one sees coming. No chaos, no explosions, just progress. And progress, when done right, is louder than any scream. You ever wonder why they always talk about peace after they've started the war? Huh? Why the loudest ones preaching healing are the same damn people who left wounds so deep they still bleed in silence. It's a performance, that's all. A beautiful, hollow performance. And the world? Oh, the world claps for it. Because people don't want truth. They want comfort. They want pretty lies, not ugly facts. They'd rather follow a faker with confidence than a real one who's been through hell and doesn't sugarcoat the journey. You were never the villain. You were just the one who didn't flinch. And they hate that. They hate when someone stares the truth in the face and doesn't blink. They hate the calm ones, the silent ones, the ones who don't explode but disappear. You didn't argue. You didn't post paragraphs. You just left. And now they're unraveling, not because you hurt them, but because you didn't need them to heal. That's what really destroys the fake ones. The silence, the growth, the fact that you chose dignity over revenge, that you walked away with your soul intact while they're still dancing in circles, trying to convince everyone they're the victim of a story they wrote. And don't let that fake humility fool you. I'm sorry if I hurt you, they say. I didn't mean for things to end like this. But you notice the key word? If. That little word they hide behind. That's the word cowards use when they're scared of the truth but want to pretend they've changed. Let me be real with you. Remorse is action, not a sentence. Guilt is silent, not posted. And change is seen, not claimed. They're not sorry. They're scared. Scared that someday someone will tell the full story. Scared you'll stop being silent. Scared people will see them without the filters. But the good news? You don't have to expose them. You don't even have to explain. The truth always leaks. Always. You just focus on evolving. Let them drown in the reputation they built. Let them wear the guilt they gifted themselves. See, your power isn't in revenge. It's in reconstruction. In building a version of you they swore would never exist without them. That's the sweet part. Not payback, not clapping back, but being unreachable. The day they can't touch you anymore, emotionally, mentally, financially, that's the day you win. You ever see someone pretend like they're unbothered, but their whole vibe screams chaos? That's what they become. After you leave, after you rise, they'll try to mimic your peace, try to steal your energy like it's for sale. But you can't copy presence. You can't fake alignment. That calm you built, it came from pain, from scars, from late nights where you questioned if you were even worth loving, from days where your silence was the only thing that held you together. And now you've got a quiet storm inside you, a strength that doesn't roar but destroys. They don't get to claim that. They didn't earn it. You did. Every tear, every sacrifice, every silent walk away, that's your armor now. That's what makes you terrifying. Not rage, restraint, not violence. Focus. You don't need to scream anymore. Your presence is enough. Your progress is enough. You've become what they feared the moment they realized they couldn't control you anymore. And I know it hurts. Hurts like hell. Giving your all, only to be blamed. Being real, only to be abandoned. But pain? Pain is just pressure on the soul. You either crack, or you carve yourself into something sharp enough to cut through anything. That's what this is. This isn't the end. This is the forge, the fire, the part where you become untouchable. They think the story's over. They think you're gone, but they don't know you were just getting quiet, planning, healing, growing. And when you come back, Not for them, not for revenge, but for you. Oh, they'll feel it. Not because you want them to, but because the truth, it never stays buried. It waits. It watches. And one day, it stands up in the middle of their pretty little lie and says, "Remember me?" And all the fake smiles in the world won't stop it. You want to know why they flinch when they hear your name now? Huh? It's not because you wronged them. It's because every syllable carries a truth they tried to bury. A truth that keeps crawling back in their silence. That's what they're really scared of. Memory. Not your presence, not your words, but the reflection of what they lost when they thought you'd stay forever. You were consistent in a world full of switches. You were honest in a place full of masks. And they thought that kind of heart would always be available. Always waiting. Always explaining. So they tested you, pushed you, took from you like you were some damn endless supply. But love, real love, it's not disposable. It's not replaceable. And when they finally turned around to see if you were still standing there, gone, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. That's what they never prepared for. They thought breaking you would make you cling harder, cry louder, but instead, you went silent, you disappeared. And now every room they enter, they hope you're not in it, because the guilt starts choking before a word is even said. That's the price of mistreating someone who meant it, who showed up, who stayed through storms that weren't even theirs. And when you stop showing up, the storm shifts. Now it's inside them. You see, they'll keep telling their side of the story to anyone who listens, painting you as cold, distant, too much. But you were never too much. They were just too little. Too little in loyalty. Too little in effort. Too little in self-awareness. You gave more than you received, and they still made you feel like it wasn't enough. You ever sit back and realize how backwards that is? How you gave with both hands while they kept theirs closed? You showed up for their chaos while they disappeared during your silence. You apologized first, even when they were the one that cut you. And somehow, you still felt guilty. That's how twisted their game is. They train you to blame yourself for being real, for feeling, for giving a damn. And the moment you begin to question your worth, they've won. But not forever. Because there comes a day, yeah, this day, where the weight of what they did stops breaking you and starts building you. Where the pain no longer paralyzes you, it teaches you. You start hearing things clearer, not what they said, but what they never meant. You start seeing things differently, not who they pretended to be, but who they really were when no one was watching. And you stop arguing with illusions. You stop asking ghosts for closure. They'll never admit it. Never. Their pride won't allow it. But behind the smiles, behind the stories, behind the staged peace. They know, oh, they know, that they broke something they'll never get back. That you were real in ways they weren't ready for. That your love came with standards, not desperation. That your presence wasn't owed, it was a blessing. And once a person realizes they mistreated a blessing, they don't heal the same. They carry that weight forever. You don't have to curse them. Life already handed them the receipt. You move on. Don't wait for karma. Be your own. Not in revenge, but in resurrection. Get up every day and build what they said you couldn't. Be so focused on the climb that their names don't even echo anymore. And when they ask about you, because they will, let the answer be silence. Let the answer be growth. Let the answer be the version of you that they never thought you'd become, because they never truly saw you to begin with. They saw what they needed, what they could use, what they could break, but never the real thing. And by the time they open their eyes, you'll be too far ahead to be reached, too far healed to be touched, too far gone to be dragged back. You want to know what real power is? It's not screaming your story to the world. It's not proving you were right. It's not exposing them. It's being okay without being understood. That's what shakes people. That's what haunts the ones who built their identity on controlling how others see you. Because when you stop explaining, when you stop trying to fix their narrative, you reclaim your name. And once you reclaim that, they've got nothing left to spin. The story ends when you stop talking. And in that silence, that's where your new chapter begins. Let me tell you something cold, and I mean cold enough to sting. They'll pretend you never mattered. That's the first stage of guilt wearing a costume. They'll treat you like a chapter they barely skimmed, like you were some casual presence they outgrew. But what they won't tell you, what they can't tell you, is that every time someone new comes along, they measure them against the standard you set. Silently, secretly, painfully. Because deep down, no matter how many games they play, no matter how many distractions they chase, they know you were the real thing. And real leaves fingerprints on the soul. You can delete photos, block numbers, burn the letters, but you can't unfeel someone who saw you when you were invisible. You can't forget someone who held you down when you were nothing but wreckage. You were there when it was inconvenient, when it was heavy, when it made no sense. You didn't love them for their masks. You loved them despite them, and they couldn't handle it. Real love feels like pressure to the broken, like exposure to the fake. They weren't ready for someone who didn't want their image, but their essence. That's why they left. Not because you were wrong, but because you were right, and they couldn't rise to meet it. They'll pretend you were just a phase, something temporary. But truth has no expiration date. It lingers. It echoes. It sits in the quiet spaces between fake laughs and forced peace. And eventually, when the lights go out and the noise dies down, they remember. Not just the moments, but the feeling, the warmth, the safety. The fact that no matter how chaotic their world got, they always knew you were there until you weren't. And now they're chasing shadows of what you gave them freely, buying distractions, dressing up emptiness and calling it happiness. But nothing sticks, nothing feels, because no one claps for them like you did. No one listens without waiting to speak. No one stays without needing a leash. They'll scroll through their life full of replacements and realize they're surrounded, but still alone. That's the cost of losing someone who actually gave a damn. You don't just miss them. You ache for them. In the quiet. In the middle of fake laughter. In the arms of the next best thing that never measures up. And here's where it gets interesting. Some of them, they'll come back. Not with apologies, no. They'll come back with conversations. Just checking in, just wondering how you've been, trying to see if the door still opens. Not because they changed, but because you did. And the silence is too loud, your absence too heavy. So they send little signals, soft taps on the glass, hoping you'll forget the fire and remember the warmth. But you won't. Because now, you know better. Now you've seen what happens when you pour into someone who can't hold water. You've learned, and it hurt. God, it hurt. But it also taught you that closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. When you stop looking for a reason and start accepting the reality. When you stop hoping for their change and start choosing yours. That's closure, not their regret, not their return. Your decision to never be broken by the same hand twice. So if they come knocking, let them knock. Let them feel the distance. Let them taste the silence. You don't need to scream your worth anymore. You don't need to prove your heart. You just exist. And that's enough. Because the strongest ones, they don't burn bridges. They walk away before the fire starts. And in doing so, they become untouchable. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not heartless. You've healed. You're not distant. You've just outgrown the performance. And now the ones who blamed you have to deal with a mirror that doesn't lie. Every morning, every night, that reflection stares back with eyes that know exactly who they hurt and who they lost. And there's no scapegoat left to hide behind. You ever notice how when the damage is done, they suddenly want to talk about peace, about closure, about being on good terms? That's not healing. They're just trying to clear their conscience without doing the work. They don't want forgiveness. They want relief. They want to wipe their hands clean of the destruction they caused without picking up a single piece of what they shattered. And if you let them, they'll drag you right back into the fire you barely crawled out of. Only this time, they'll smile while they do it. Because now they know exactly what burns you. They know which button to push, which word to say, which wound to poke, just enough to make you bleed again. That's what happens when you stay too long around people who hurt you and then ask why you're bleeding. And here's the ugly part. You taught them how to hurt you by staying quiet when you should have walked, by forgiving what should have been a final goodbye, by giving second chances to people who used the first one as a weapon. But hey, you know better now. And knowing is the beginning of becoming dangerous. You see, silence is a language, a powerful one. It doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it doesn't defend, it just exists. And when you've been through enough hell, you learn to stop yelling into fires. You start choosing yourself in rooms that once demanded your sacrifice. You stop answering questions that were never asked with sincerity. Because here's the truth, they didn't want to understand you. They wanted to control the version of you that was easiest to deal with. And when you outgrew that version, when you started setting boundaries, when you started saying no, you became the villain. Not because you changed for the worse, but because you finally stopped shrinking. And people who rely on your weakness will always call your strength an attack. Let them. Let them talk. Let them twist. Let them cry to the world about how you became distant, cold, cruel. That's the price of evolution. You don't owe them comfort in your growth. And don't you dare feel guilty for becoming hard to manipulate. Don't you dare regret choosing your peace over their chaos. They didn't mind when your heart broke on their schedule. They didn't blink when you stayed up at night, replaying conversations, wondering what you did wrong while they slept peacefully. So now that the script's flipped, now that they can't read you, reach you, ruin you, that's their problem. That mirror they keep avoiding, it's catching up. The silence they mocked, it's screaming now. Every memory, every message, every look, they're all louder than your words ever were. You don't need revenge when their own mind turns against them. That's what guilt does. It eats slow, quiet. Starts as a whisper in the morning, ends as a storm by midnight. And you just keep walking, one foot in front of the other. You don't need to watch them regret it. You don't need to see them crack. That's not healing. That's distraction. Let life deal with them. It always does. Because while they're stuck defending the version of the story that makes them feel better, you're out here writing a new one. One where you're no longer begging for the bare minimum. One where your presence isn't overlooked. One where you're not just enough, you're undeniable. And yeah, it's lonely at first. Real growth always is. But don't confuse solitude with punishment. It's not that the world abandoned you, it's that you outgrew the noise. You outgrew the crowd that clapped for your downfall and stayed silent through your struggle. And now your silence is your armor. Your peace is your power. Your absence is your revenge. They wanted a reaction. You gave them nothing. And that's what breaks them more than anything else ever could. You know what the real curse is for people like us? It's not the heartbreak, not the betrayal. It's remembering everything. Every word, every tone, every damn detail of how it all fell apart. We replay the scenes like a broken film reel, wondering what we could have done different, how we could have fixed it, where the turning point was. But the truth? It was never about the moment. It was about the pattern, the signs we ignored, the disrespect we let slide, the silences we filled with excuses just to keep believing in someone who'd already decided they weren't going to match our energy. That's the raw reality. You were loyal to an idea, not a person. And they knew that. They saw it. They banked on it. They knew you'd hold on longer than you should, that you'd fight when there was no war, that you'd bleed and still show up, smiling. And that's what made them comfortable. Too comfortable. Comfortable enough to start wounding you on purpose, just to see if you'd stay. And you did, for a while. But every heart has a threshold, even the strongest ones. And when yours finally snapped, they didn't panic because they lost you. They panicked because they lost control. See, that's the part they'll never say out loud, that it was never love, it was power. Having someone so devoted, so real, so raw, made them feel important. And when you walked away, it stripped them, exposed them. Suddenly they weren't interesting anymore. Suddenly they had to sit with themselves. And that silence, it's a monster. That's why they start reaching out. Not because they miss you, but because they miss who they were when you loved them. You made them feel like somebody. And when you took that light away, all that was left was their own reflection. And we both know they can't stand that. They can't live with the version of themselves that shows up in silence. So they reach for anything, anyone, to distract from the truth crawling beneath their skin. But it doesn't work, because fake affection can't replace real connection. You don't just recover from losing someone who knew your demons and didn't flinch. That kind of bond doesn't get rebuilt with strangers. It stays, haunts, and every high from a new person feels like a lie they can't even finish. They'll keep pretending though, smiling in photos, posting captions about peace and growth, acting like they're healed, whole, and happier. But if you look close, real close, you'll see it. That flicker, that glitch, that moment in their eyes where they hesitate. That's not peace. That's a performance. Because people who are truly at peace, they don't look over their shoulder. They don't keep tabs on the one they left. They don't talk in circles, but the ones who messed up, they watch from fake accounts. They stalk in silence. They ask mutual friends. Why? 'Cause they're still looking for the damage. They're hoping you're not okay, hoping you're struggling without them. That's how they validate the lie. If they're still hurting, maybe I wasn't that bad. But when they see you glow, when they realize you moved on, not bitter, but better, that's when it hits. That's when they realize they didn't just lose a person. They lost the proof that someone could have loved them even at their worst, and they threw it away. And here you are, still standing, scarred, sure, but sharper, wiser, colder, not because the world turned you evil, but because pain taught you what comfort never could, that not everyone deserves access, that not everyone deserves explanations, that not everyone can be saved. Some people need to drown in their own reflection to finally see the mess they've made. And your job, your only job, is to stay gone. Let the mirror finish what your voice couldn't. Let the guilt speak louder than your love ever did. Because sometimes the loudest thing you can say is absolutely nothing. You ever notice how they say, "I didn't mean to hurt you," but never say, "I'm sorry, I did"? That's how cowards talk. That's how manipulators buy time. They throw soft words like pillows over sharp daggers, hoping you forget who was holding the blade. It's never about truth with them. It's about comfort, convenience, and control. They say what sounds right, not what's real. They cry when you're gone, not when they had you. They feel loss only when they can't replace you. And suddenly, all the silence they gave you while you bled turns into noise the moment you stop caring. But here's the sick irony. They don't miss you. They miss what you did for them. You made life easier, lighter. You carried weights they never acknowledged. You reminded them of what love should feel like. And when they lost you, the world felt heavier, even if they never say it. Trust me, they feel it. At night, in silence, in the middle of pretending they're fine. That's when the ghosts show up. And not the ones you sent, but the ones they created. Because people like that, they always want someone to blame, someone to point at when the storm comes. They can't take accountability. It's like acid to their skin. So they twist stories, flip facts, cry to people who don't even know the truth. Why? Because image is everything. And they know damn well they looked better standing next to you. You gave them value. You made them look good. Even when they were doing nothing, your presence made them seem like they were doing something. But once you walked away, the curtain dropped, and now they're exposed. You were never the side character. You were the whole foundation. They just didn't realize it till it was gone. And now they're scrambling, trying to patch the holes with distractions, new faces, fake peace. But there's a truth they can't outrun, and it's written across their life like graffiti. You don't replace real, you just delay the breakdown. And oh, it's coming. Quiet, relentless, personal. And they'll look for you then, not publicly, privately, subtly, through indirect posts, through mutual friends, through that one old photo they never deleted, just hoping you left a crack in the door, hoping you still feel something. Because to them, the absence doesn't hit until the silence becomes a wall they can't break through. That's when panic sets in. But you've changed. You've evolved in ways they'll never understand. You used that pain like bricks. You built something out of the chaos they left you in. And now when they reach for the version of you they once knew, they can't find it because it's gone, burned, rebuilt, hardened. And that's what kills them. Not the loss, the transformation. Because you didn't just leave. You became someone untouchable. Someone their lies can't define. Someone their guilt can't manipulate. And someone their cheap apologies can't reach. See, the thing they never counted on was you healing, quietly, without a show. They thought the silence meant surrender, that the distance meant defeat, but you were just reloading. And when you came back, you didn't return to prove anything. You just existed, unapologetically, unbothered. And that's power, real power. Not in revenge, but in resilience. Not in noise, but in presence. You didn't scream. You didn't threaten. You just became so much more than what they tried to reduce you to. And now they talk about you like you're a myth. Like maybe it wasn't real. Because accepting that they had something real and lost it, that would destroy them. And you know what? Let it. Let them sit with that. Let the mirror remind them of who they were when they had the chance to stand beside something rare and chose comfort instead. That's the beauty of the mirror, my friend. It never lies. And one day, when the crowd is gone, when the distractions fade, when the noise finally stops, they'll look and they'll see everything they ran from. Everything they tried to pin on you. And for the first time, they'll realize it was never about you being broken. It was about them refusing to grow. And the mirror, it won't blink, it won't argue. It'll just stare right back and say, this is who you are. This is what you did. And that truth, it'll echo for the rest of their life.